Guys, and thank you for joining me for another tech story. Today we're gonna build on our previous video where we added the undo function. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna refactor our code that it is more efficient and modular. We're gonna put everything that can be put into a function. So let's see what we need here. We need mathematical operations, add, subtraction, multiply, and all that good stuff. We need the undo, and we need the can undo. And what else do we need? We need to create a check and display memory function to retrieve the last value within the memory or the array. And yeah, that's all I can think of right now. So let's get started. Let's first create our functions. I'm gonna say mathematical operations functions. There we go. And here first function is going to be add, and it's gonna take two parameters, first and second. You can name them whatever you want, of course, and I'm just gonna duplicate this 6 times. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. There we go. Since I have Visual Studio Code, what I need to do, or what you need to do to duplicate anything, you just highlight it, and on your keyboard you press Alt, Shift, and the down arrow. There you go. So we have add, we have subtract, what other function? Multiply, divide. So we have add, subtract, multiply, divide, and then we want to do undo. Actually, let's start with can undo, and then undo. And one more is gonna be check memory, and that's just gonna take one parameter. I'm gonna call that parameter mem. You can call it whatever you want. Yeah, that seems about right. So I'm just gonna get the logic of this from here and just paste it into add. Now what we need to do is change init mem to first, yeah, and there we have second, because when we call this function here, we're gonna add the init memory variable that we created here, the list. So, and the second, we're gonna actually add the second variable that we created here, and then in the end we're gonna return first. That is great. Now I'm gonna copy this and paste here, and yeah, that's enough for now. Okay, so let's do the subtract one. We're just gonna do minus, yeah. And remember, you need to indent everything properly. So all code within a function need to be inside a function. It can't be on the same line as the function declaration. So here we did the subtraction, the multiply. We're just gonna change the operation sign, and here is the division. Gonna add the division sign. Yeah, I think that's good for mathematical operations. Now the undo logic. We have the undo logic right here, and so we'll come here. So if the length of first is bigger, and the undo is just gonna take one variable also, and we're gonna call this memory there. So if the length of the memory, and the memory here we're gonna call the initial memory we created, this variable within here. So if it is, we're gonna return true. So this is just gonna return a Boolean value, either true or false, and if it's not, we're gonna return false. If the length of the initial memory is more than 1, then we're gonna return true, otherwise we're gonna return false. And here in the undo also we're gonna take 1, and we're gonna say if, actually we're gonna do an if and else statement, I'm gonna navigate to the F and else here with the keyboard arrow and press tab to populate it. There we go. Now what do we want to check? We want to actually call the can undo function, and we're gonna add the mem into it, which is coming from here. So if can undo, which means if this is true, then we're gonna delete the last value of the list. So the last value, as we mentioned, is -1, and then we're gonna return the memory. Okay, and else, if it's not like this, we're not gonna delete anything, we're just gonna print you cannot undo. There we go. We could return false instead, but that will require further logic, which seems a little bit redundant. Now we're gonna check the memory, and this is simply is gonna return the last value in the memory. Mem -et. So that seemed like a sound logic. Now that this is done, let's continue here. Okay, let's continue with the actual program logic. So here, if operation add, we're not gonna do this. We're just gonna do there. I'm gonna do the add function. So I'm gonna run the add function before I actually display it. And here I'm just going to display the init memory variable, and within that I'm gonna display the last value. And so let's run this to test the add function, and here we go. Gonna add 1, then do an add, then do 2, and the result is 3. Add 3, the result is, oh, that's good. So we're good. Yeah, there we go. So what we want to do is just run the function within each of them before displaying it. So here we go. This is gonna be the sub, and this is gonna be the multiply, and here is the division. We're gonna call the division function to run, and here we go with the undo. Here we're just gonna call the undo function and give this the initial memory, because within the undo function we call the can undo, so we don't need to do this. And here, instead of doing this, I'm gonna use the check memory. So I'm gonna run the check memory function, and I'm gonna give it the initial memory variable. Okay, let's clear our console and run this again. I'm gonna click on the play button up there and run. Add 2, multiply 2, divide by 1, and sub 5. Now let's do an undo. We need to actually return something. We need to do something within the undo, otherwise it's just undoing and we're not seeing what's happening. So we need to prompt the user with something. Here I'm gonna return the memory. Before that, I'm gonna print. What am I gonna print? This line. So before that, I will just print this line. There is this amount of memory here. Great. I'm just gonna copy this function one more time to the last line here. There it is. Okay, let's run again. The value is 1. I'm gonna add 1, and then we're gonna do an undo. There's 1 in the memory. Another undo. We can't do it. Another undo. We can't do it. And we're gonna add 2. So there's 3 in the memory. We'll do an undo. Now there's 1. Now we're gonna do quit. and now we quit. Now what more can we do? Within this function, we can add this print function. So we're gonna, oh, what did I copy? We're gonna add this print function there. We're just gonna call mem minus et in the memory. And instead of all this, we're just gonna copy this, and I'm gonna highlight this and press Ctrl D in my keyboard, because since I'm using Visual Studio Code to highlight all similar lines, and press Ctrl V to paste my function. And I can do this here again. Okay, now let's test this. The value is 1. We're gonna add 2, and let's do an undo. Oh, the undo is twice since we're printing within the undo. And here's the undo. We're printing and we're calling the check memory. So here, instead of printing, we're just gonna call the check memory and try again. Play. Value is 1. We're gonna add 1. We're gonna do an undo, and now it's printing only once. Undo again, then we're gonna multiply by 1. We're gonna divide by 1. We're gonna add 10, then subtract 2, and then we're gonna quit. So this seems to work perfectly. Yeah, so that is it. So far our program has been using a temporary data storage, i.e. the RAM. So as soon as we close the program, all data is deleted. What we're gonna do in the next video is we're gonna create a permanent storage. We're gonna create an XML file, and we're gonna store all our data in that file using XML structures. So that's it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.